This is CBC Here and Now.
Daycare for scores of children, birthday parties, programs, and much more, all imperiled now because of a fire at the Max Athletics in Mount Pearl. We'll bring you the very latest coming up on Here and Now.
The first thoughts was, oh my word, like what if my son wasn't there?
4 months after a pickup truck exploded in flames on the Trans-Canada Highway, the owner still has no answers from General Motors. Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Anthony Germain. Max Athletics in Mount Pearl is scrambling to find temporary space for about 800 of its members. This following a fire early this morning. Max is home to a variety of programs, including a daycare center. The fire caused serious damage to the building, but one quick-thinking firefighter may have prevented a total loss. Here now, Zach Gowdy reports.
We can only imagine the damage inside is going to be quite severe.
Max CEO Pat Griffin didn't know how bad it was when the phone rang at 5 a.m. The Max facility in Mount Pearl was on fire. It took several tense hours to get the blaze under control.
Is it tough for you to look at it there now?
Yeah, it's really tough. That building, it's an old building, but the renovation is new. It's a special place inside and out. So to see it as it looks now is quite challenging, but we're going to get it back.
Here's how it looked before the fire. Max offers a variety of fitness and arts programs. There's also a daycare center for preschool kids.
There's going to be quite a road here to get that building back to what it was.
Meanwhile, Max is scrambling to find temporary space to keep going. All programs at the Mount Pearl location are canceled. The company hopes it won't stay that way for long.
So we're working now program by program to try to find a way to get them running again.
The cause of the fire is unknown, but it could have been far worse were it not for one firefighter who was in the right place at the right time.
It was an off-duty firefighter that was, I understand, taking his wife to the airport and saw it, luckily, and went right into the fire station right next to our building, also lucky, and they got on site in less than a minute.
That quick response may have prevented a total loss. Still, it could be a long time before Max Mount Pearl is up and running again. Zach Gowdy, CBC News, Mount Pearl.
The province's education minister went back to school today. Brian Warr headed to a classroom at St. John Bosco in Shea Heights, and he gave an update on the government's 5-year plan to improve the K-12 education system in the province. That plan focuses on making changes in 9 areas, and those include inclusive education, student mental health, math, reading, and Indigenous education. Warr says so far, 60% of what was planned is either completed or is underway.
Overall, 350 teacher resources are being hired over a 3-year period to ensure students have access to the supports they need. To assist teachers and administrators with their understanding of the new approaches to teaching and learning, we are providing significant professional learning opportunities. As you can see, this is certainly a time of growth and renewal in our education system.
The Crown is appealing a court decision in a criminal harassment and sexual assault case. John Michael Roberts was acquitted last month. The well-known businessman and one-time mayoral candidate was accused of sexually abusing a woman with a beer bottle and making repeated threatening phone calls to her. The Crown argues the judge erred in assessing the victim's credibility, relying on stereotypes about how victims are supposed to behave. Well, Service NL has lifted a stop work order at Northern Harvest Sea Farms on the south coast. Diving was suspended after a man was airlifted to St. John's to be treated for decompression sickness, also known as the bends. Several dive teams have been contracted to help clean up the massive salmon die-off at the fish farm in Fortune Bay. Well, salmon started dying more than a month ago, and Occupational Health says this isn't the first time a diver's been injured while working in the aquaculture industry. There was an incident in March and another in August. In the meantime, the government announced just minutes ago that it's changing regulations under the Aquaculture Act to force companies to disclose information publicly when a major die-off happens. Here now, of course, first to bring you those pictures that you're seeing. The province says it urged the company to go public when it reported the incident to the government back in early September. Well, my colleague Carolyn Stokes is at an unusual event this evening at the Rocket Bakery in downtown St. John. So, Carolyn, what's happening? What's going on there?
Well, Anthony, you've heard of speed dating, right? Well, this event, it's a very similar sort of idea. The people that you see here behind me, they're part of something called a human library, and their lives are like open books. They've all agreed to let total strangers sit down with them for a few minutes and ask them anything that they like. Total strangers, any kind of question you want to ask them. The event is organized by the Refugee and Immigrant Advisory Council, and most of the people that you see here behind me are newcomers to the province. So coming up, I'll chat with one of the organizers about the purpose of this event, and I'll try out the human library myself. I'll go around and speak with a couple of people I've never met before and ask them questions about their lives, but I'd like your help with that. If you have any ideas about a question that you would ask a total stranger, then why don't you tweet it to me? And I'll ask them the question. My Twitter handle is @CStokesCBC, so that'll be coming up a bit later in the show. Reporting live from Rocket Bakery in downtown St. John's, I'm Carolyn Stokes for Here and Now.
It was a 7-story building that was the largest building in all of Labrador when it was built. It was built around 1957.
Still ahead, Happy Valley Goose Bay then and now. An immersive photo exhibit and online mapping project showcases the area's history.
I'm Ryan Snodden in for Ashley tonight, talking about more sunshine on the menu for Friday, though we will start to see that cloud cover creeping in throughout the day as our next system approaches, of course, just in time for the weekend. I'll have your full forecast coming up.
Well, 3 months ago, he was found not criminally responsible in the death of David Collins. Well, now a review board says Graham Vitch could be allowed unsupervised time away from the Waterford Hospital. The Criminal Code Mental Disorder Review Board issued that order last week, but it doesn't mean that Vitch will automatically be allowed unsupervised time. Lawyer Mark Gruchy represents Vitch, and he says the goal of keeping him at the Waterford is rehabilitation, not punishment. And rejoining society is all part of that, but it will be up to doctors and other experts to decide when he's ready to leave the hospital.
The reality of it is the day-to-day authority figures who make these decisions and assess the scenario are professionals who have many years of experience with mental health problems and crisis, and it's their whole job. They're people who have daily contact with the individual. They're people who are very well apprised of the conditions involved, and they're the people who are making these decisions.
Well, after several false starts, a Nova Scotia company plans to begin a weekly marine cargo service between Halifax and the port of Argentia this week. TMSI Limited will use a ship called the Nolan Ava to bring freight of all types to and from Newfoundland, competing with established shippers such as Marine Atlantic and OceanX. The company has invested millions into the new ship and a new harbor crane in Argentia, as well as other gear. The vessel is scheduled to arrive in Placentia Bay with its first shipment of cargo on Sunday. The creator of the Centre for Newfoundland Studies has died. Anne Hart started the centre back in 1982, 10 years after joining Memorial University as a librarian. Hart was also a well-known author. Her best-known work, The Life and Times of Miss Jane Marple, based on the famous Agatha Christie character. And later in life, she chronicled the life of Mina Hubbard, the explorer who mapped the Labrador backcountry in the early 1900s. And for her work, Hart was invested into the Order of Canada in 2004. Anne Hart was 84 years of age. In other news, it's been about 6 weeks since sewage erupted into the air in Paradise, and it's all because the town's main sewer lift station stopped working. As Here Now Cease Hair reports, repairs are underway, but they come with a high price tag.
There's all kinds of equipment at the site now. It's an external pumping system that keeps the waste moving. No longer necessary to have those pumping trucks here 24/7.
Those pump trucks, in the beginning, worked around the clock for 20 days straight, keeping the waste moving for about 10,000 residents. Paradise Mayor Dan Bobbitt says it wasn't cheap.
Quick math on it, people were calculating 20 days, $50,000 a day is $1 million. And all said and done, pretty well staff were fairly accurate that it was around $1 million, a little bit less than $1 million.
Bobbitt says by the time this is over, the total bill will be $1.5 million. Luckily, he says, the town had $1 million in a contingency reserve, emphasis on had. The town lobbied and managed to get $30,000 from the province. The repairs that are underway, Bobbitt says, will take about 5 to 6 weeks to complete, and parts are on order.
Some of the integral parts that had to be ordered, I think they're coming from overseas, are on the way. So we approved that at our last council meeting 2 weeks ago. So those parts are coming in. They're specialized parts.
At the height of this waste management crisis, there was another problem. Equipment malfunctioned one night, and raw sewage was seen shooting into the sky, covering everything in its path, flooding the road and a residential property nearby.
Living next door to all this has been a nightmare for one property owner who told us that he wants the town to buy his land so he can move. He's currently in a rental situation now, and the town says it will not discuss this land ownership issue publicly. Cease here, CBC News, Paradise.
The Norwegian Dawn sailed into Corner Brook this morning. The cruise ship brought more than 2,000 passengers and 1,000 crew. Pretty good service on that boat. While many visitors head out of town on charter buses, more stick to the city's core. There's a market at City Hall, and they also spend time with local vendors and artisans. Another cruise ship is expected tomorrow. A hunter on the Avalon Peninsula captured some footage of a rare sight, a black bear near Collinette in St. Mary's Bay. Jordan Wells recorded this video near Cataracts Provincial Park on Monday, out looking for some berries and a few partridges. Last year, the East Coast Trail Association issued a warning that bear tracks had been spotted on a trail near Fairland. Here and Now, we'll be back in about 3 minutes. All right, well, let's check in again with Carolyn Stokes, who is live tonight at Rocket Bakery for an event called the Human Library. So, Carolyn, how does this work?
Well, Anthony, all the people that you see behind me, well, they all have their own unique story to tell, just like books in a library. And this event allows the public to kind of sign out a human book. So you basically come in and sit down with someone and ask them anything that you want. And joining me now to talk more about the purpose of this event is Kylie Mercer, and you're with the Refugee and Immigrant Advisory Council. So what is the purpose of this event?
Well, the main purpose is to bring people in the community together, no matter where they're from, what their occupation is. We want to bring people together and promote dialogue.
So who are you seeing here today? Who's been coming in to take part in this event?
We have seen a lot of different people filtering in and out, people who are part of the refugee and immigrant community, people of the local community. It does bring a lot of people together.
And where did the idea for this come from?
The idea is that we want to bring people together. There's an organization called the Human Library Organization, and the whole idea is to challenge stereotypes and to not judge a book by its cover, to stick with the theme.
And what kind of questions are people asking these human books?
Well, that's the interesting thing. I find people, they go in a little apprehensive and they start off with, so where are you from? What brings you here? And conversation naturally grows from that. Yeah.
And so the people that you called to come be part of this, a lot of them are newcomers to the province. What was their reaction when you said to them, look, can you come down and be part of this human library and just let people ask you any question that they want?
The response was amazing. So many people were interested in the event. It was great.
Why do you think that is?
Everybody loves to share about their culture. One thing I find is people are nervous to ask questions. People don't find it respectful. But the thing is, people love to talk about themselves. Right. People love to share their culture. Whenever I ask a question that I find maybe, a little over the edge, people are like, no, I want to share these things. This is my culture. I want to share it, which is great.
Oh, that's amazing. So I'm going to get a chance to do this a little bit later. Do you have any suggestions on what kind of stuff I should ask? Is there anything that's off limits that I shouldn't ask?
Nothing is off limits. Everybody here is completely willing to share everything that they have to offer.
Yeah. I don't want to ask them though, like what their most embarrassing moment was in their life on live TV though.
Sure you do. Every question is on the table. Go for it. Everybody's here willing to share.
All right, Kylie Mercer, thank you so much for speaking with me. And coming up a little later, I'm going to try this out for myself and have a chat with some of the human books here at the Human Library. Reporting live from Rocket Bakery in downtown St. John's, I'm Carolyn Stokes for Here and Now.
Well, Ashley is away this evening, but you might recognize that guy. Ryan Snodden's going to help us out tonight with the weather. Good to see you.
Great to see you, Mr. Germain. I hope all is well. How can it not be with all this glorious sunshine, which is finally been delivering across the entire province, not only just the island, but from Nain to Lab City to St. John's to Port aux Basques today. It was a terrific day. We've got more sunshine on the way for tomorrow. A far contrast from what we were dealing with 3 years ago. Thought we would start with this. A little flashback for you. Remember the remnants of Hurricane Matthew came through. We had more than 262 millimeters fall in Burgeo, more than 200 millimeters in Conn River down on the south coast, over 100 millimeters widespread through central Newfoundland. Phillips Head NL, this infamous picture. Road washouts in Terra Nova and out towards Clarenville. This was a big one, over millions and millions of damage, millions and millions of dollars in damage, of course. The road into St. Albans was washed out. And remember, yes, the shed being towed in Morrisville. Doesn't hardly seem like 3 years ago, does it? A little blast from the past there. Now, highs today, again, thankfully, much more calm 3 years from that big storm. And you can see where temperatures anywhere from Nain to St. John's, 12 degrees, and we did see some 16 and 17 degree temperatures from Lab City to Churchill Falls and through central parts of Newfoundland for today. Again, hardly a cloud in the sky. A little bit of high cloud cover edging up into southern parts of Newfoundland for today, but a cloud cover over the Torngats, but otherwise it was high pressure domination. Now, off to the south, we've got our next system starting to creep in. We've been seeing some cloud draping in across the Maritimes today as well, and a little thicker in the variety. And we'll continue to see that cloud cover edging up into Newfoundland tomorrow with more high cloud cover into the mix as this low slowly, and I mean slowly at a snail's pace, will be moving in. Your future tracker shows very, very calm conditions right through tonight. Now, with those clear skies and the light winds, we're talking about a pretty chilly start to the day. Tomorrow will be below the freezing mark. Badger through to the Deer Lake region and over towards Corner Brook, especially in low-lying areas, and we'll be into the low single digits all across the province for tonight, below zero in Lab City to start the day for tomorrow as well. But light winds, and so yes, a frosty start, but a bright start. So bundle the kids up, but you don't have to worry about those winds being too pesky. We'll see a terrific day again for tomorrow. Again, a little bit of high cloud cover starting to roll up into our region throughout the day, more so than what that forecast model is showing. But sunshine will be the main menu, the main dominant feature on the menu for tomorrow. We'll see, places like Burgeo and Port aux Basques, a little bit of an onshore wind here, keeping temperatures in the 11 to 12 degree range. Northerly winds for St. John's near 13 degrees, but overall it's going to be a pretty terrific day. Should crack 16, 17 degrees through central parts of Newfoundland from Gander to Corner Brook, and in the big land, we're talking about temperatures near 20. Happy Valley, Goose Bay, Churchill Falls, even towards the Cartwright and Marys Harbour region. A very, very warm day. 14 degrees in Nain for tomorrow, and Lab City near 18 degrees. Now, what's on the menu for the weekend? Well, of course, we're going to be watching our next system tracking in throughout the day on Saturday with some increasing clouds and some rain moving in late Saturday night, and in through, of course, the holiday weekend for Sunday. Anthony will talk more about that with your long-range forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
I don't think a lot of people know how big the base used to be.
Next, a look through some old photos of Happy Valley Goose Bay as we get details on a new photo exhibit and mapping project to showcase the town's history. Welcome back to Here Now. Well, the town of Happy Valley Goose Bay is inviting you to take a look through time. Its new interactive website features photos that date back to the 1800s, and they're all laid out on a map. Here Now's Jacob Barker met up with Courtney Dunn. She's the person who led the project, and Jacob wanted to see the sites in real life.
So, Courtney, just walking around Happy Valley Goose Bay, you might not notice it, but there's like history everywhere, hey?
Yeah, there definitely is, and I'll show you.
All right. Okay, so what's this one?
Astra Theater.
Okay. This was a movie theater.
Yep.
You wouldn't know it by looking at it today.
No, definitely. So it's actually pretty cool. You definitely can't tell from the outside that it used to be a theater. Someone told me a story of in the early 70s, their dad took them to see Planet of the Apes here.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
So I thought that was pretty cool. And he actually showed me like where it was on the map so that I could map it appropriately.
Yeah.
And when you look at the pictures, you're like, oh yeah, that is that.
Yeah. So where are we right now?
We're at the former site for the Goose Hilton Hotel. So it was a 7-story building that was the largest building in all of Labrador when it was built. It was built around 1957. Yeah. And since then, it's obviously been demolished.
Okay, yeah, not much to see here.
Nope.
What's this one?
This is the original airport.
Yeah.
It was on the Canadian side. Some people call this area the Canadian side still, or the north side. You can see the control tower up there. Here's the maintenance hangar. Now it's currently an oxygen plant, and they just use it for storage. Same control tower. We have some photos in the late 50s of when it was the new control tower, so that's kind of cool. This used to be the Happy Valley Mission, and so this was the first nurses station in Happy Valley. The International Grenfell Association funded it, so they provided health services to people in Happy Valley. We actually have some photos of the mission when it was first opened in 1961, and there's also a photo of the ambulance that they were using, that they would transport patients.
And the original structure, that's the original structure that was here, hey?
Yep, that's the original structure, and one of the original nurses, she's still living in Happy Valley as well.
Okay, well, history is still all around us.
Like those kind of history stories, everyone kind of adores those. Well, let's get back to an education story that we talked about earlier in the news. The provincial education minister was at a St. John's school today talking about all the things that the government says it's trying to do to improve the K-12 school system. Now, that school that was visited today was St. John Bosco in Shea Heights, where Linda Hart is the principal.
Made a significant impact on the education of our students, most important. But it's also made a significant impact on the amount of teacher collaboration and professional learning and reflection as we move through each day. As a school, based on this plan, we've put an increased emphasis on our reading and mathematics, as well as our social and emotional learning. This has been facilitated by the new human resources that were spoken of earlier, such as our teaching learning assistant, who, by the way, is one of the most phenomenal working people in our building, and I told her I was going to say that today. Our reading specialist and our learning teacher librarian for our Learning Commons that you're in here. They've provided to be a rich resource in our data analysis, our team discussions, our planning, and even right into the direct instruction in our classrooms. We've established during the day teaching and learning team meetings where teachers get the opportunity to collaborate with one another in rich discussion, using the same language, reflecting on their practice, and looking at different ways that we can respond to teaching and learning in our building. The first thing we look at is the universal instruction. How can we help all our students? And then as we delve into the data, we look at how can we help those students who just need a little bit of extra support, whether it be a targeted support or intensive support. And what our teachers really love is that supports can be provided at any grade level to any child, that they don't necessarily need to have a special diagnosis, and that help can come from anyone. It can come from a guidance counselor, an IRT, a classroom teacher, a teaching learning assistant. it's really a teamwork approach to how we look at students and how we can help support their needs. Teachers are also pretty happy with all of this because they've gotten a ton more professional learning opportunities, and those learning opportunities can be learning from one another here in the building, but we've had the opportunity to visit other schools and see how they're doing things. Finally, the people most affected and the best of all are our students. And I think they will tell you that they are experiencing a whole new look at reading and mathematics, and they are so engaged in what they're doing.
I got a call from the RNC and they told me, and this is not a joke, I had to get my fingerprints taken. So what do? Now, I swear I didn't do it. Stay tuned for the whole story.
My name is Chess Sweetapple. 6 years ago, I was picking berries and I got lost.
We're checking back in with people whose lives have changed in an instant.
I never did give up hope. Never did.
And he said, Mr. Mount is in Grand Falls. I want to let you know we found your husband and froze.
And to see where they are today.
I'm out in the garden all day long.
Chess Sweetapple, coming up on Here and Now.
Well, Carolyn is standing by live at an event, as you've seen tonight, called the Human Library, which gives local people a chance to learn a little more about the lives and cultures of newcomers to our province. So, Carolyn, you're going to show us now how this whole thing works, are you?
Yeah, I have some of the human books here with me. I have some people that I've never met before. So I have a bunch of questions, and thank you to some of the viewers who tweeted some questions to me. I'll get to those in a second. But first of all, tell us your name and where you're from.
Hi, my name is Oratai from Bangkok, Thailand.
And what brings you to Newfoundland?
I first initially came here in 2007 for school and memorial, and then I got a job and have family, and now I own a business here in St. John, Newfoundland.
How long have you been here?
12 years, if I do my math correctly.
Oh, yeah. Long time. Have you ever been on live television before? No. No, I have not, no. First for everything. So I have a question here from John Meany. He asks, what's the one thing that you find the hardest to adjust to in Newfoundland and Labrador, excluding the weather?
Excluding the weather. I used to find it really hard to find ingredients for cooking and things like that. But now I think the past 3 years, St. John is Newfoundland is a lot more open to new ingredient, new food. So no, St. John is it's a home to me now.
So you like to cook?
I do like to cook. I own a food business here.
Oh, do you? What's your business?
I have a Thai food business at the St. John Farmer Market called Yes Thai Kitchen. Yeah.
And who taught you to cook?
I guess I learned it. It's self-taught. A lot of it is self-taught, but my mom's and my grandmother, typical in Asian household, we learn a lot from the older generations. But it's a lot of self-taught as well.
Yeah. Well, it's lovely to meet you. Thank you so much for chatting with me. I have another person right over here. Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing excellent, thank
What's
you.
your name and where are you from?
My name is Santiago Guzman, and I am originally from Mexico City.
Okay, and what brings you to Newfoundland?
Well, I came here 4 years ago, and I did my BFA in theater, and now I graduated and I moved to St. John's.
Okay. I have a question from a viewer.
Yep.
From Wanda Tobin. She wants to know what truly makes you happy?
Theater and film.
How did you get into theater and film?
Well, I started acting since I was 8 years old when I was back in Mexico, and then I decided to pursue my career in it seriously, and I'm very lucky that I get to do it on a daily basis, and now I have a theater and film company.
Okay, so you're used to performing. Do you have any hidden talents?
Well, I think acting would be my talent, and it's not really hidden. But yeah, I am an actor by training, but I am also a writer and a director.
Okay, and what is your dream? What do you want to do with your life?
Well, I want to keep writing stories and sharing them with the community, and also help other artists to tell their own stories.
What is your happy place?
My happy place, I don't know. Oh my God, a restaurant maybe?
With some good food you like to eat.
I'll probably go visit her. Yes, yeah, definitely.
Awesome, me too. That's a happy place for me too. Thank you so much for chatting with me. So there you have it, the Human Library. Lots of very interesting stories to hear down here tonight. And Anthony actually has quite an interesting story to tell as well about having to get a criminal background check done. Just have a look.
So we're here at RNC headquarters, and joining me now is Sergeant Sims. Sergeant Sims, I got a call from the RNC saying I had to come in to get fingerprinted.
Okay, look at this camera right here.
Up there, okay. I don't think I committed a crime, but apparently somebody else did, and there's a match? What does that mean?
When we're doing a vulnerable sector check, obviously we want to make sure that you are who you say you are, you don't have a criminal record or someone we had to be concerned about.
Right.
So sometimes, your name or date of birth may be very similar to someone who has a criminal record. So what we'll do is we'll get you to come in.
Where's the ink?
There's no ink.
We'll take your fingerprints just to verify that you are not the person who, with the criminal record.
Okay, so basically you need these to rule me out, to make sure that I'm not that person.
That's correct.
Okay. Well, it got me thinking, because we hear so much with police shows and about DNA and fluids that are used. Why are they so valued still in 2019?
Fingerprints have been used for thousands of years, really, actually, for identification. Back in ancient Egypt, China, people would mark pottery or documents with a thumbprint. Generally, fingerprints have never been shown to be similar, or two people have never been matched together. There have been mistakes in the past, yes, but no two fingerprints have ever been shown to be alike. Unlike DNA, where DNA everybody thinks is unique to each individual, which generally it is, unless you're a twin. And then your DNA is exactly the same as your twin sibling.
Right.
So fingerprints are still very viable whenever we do crime scene examination. Not only are we looking for DNA, blood, saliva, that type of thing,
right,
but we're also doing a full gamut. We're looking for fingerprints, we're looking for footwear, we're looking for all these, a multitude of evidence for crime scenes.
So for those of us who are old enough to remember certain police shows where they'd say, you better dust the room for prints, Jim. Does that still happen? Is that basically the...
Yes, the method of finding fingerprints hasn't changed much over the years. Sure, as technology gets more advanced, there are different ways of doing it. For example, if we went to a crime scene, we would use fingerprint powders. We use powders that would stick to what's called the matrix, and that's like your sweat from your from your hands or blood. So we would use powders, chemicals. If it was blood, you would enhance blood. Even using just light, you can help find fingerprints. In the forensic identification section, we always consider fingerprints our bread and butter. If we have fingerprints on record, then if we find fingerprints at a scene, then we can send it into the RCMP databank to look for a match. And then when we get a match from the RCMP, then we have to physically take those fingerprints and match them on our own. We have to confirm that actually these two fingerprints are actually the same.
Okay, so when am I going to know if I'm in the clear?
Okay, perfect.
With regards to right now?
By check, yeah.
I believe, I'm not sure, I think it's probably 30 days, but I'm not sure.
Okay, well listen, I appreciate the insight into fingerprints.
You're very welcome.
And I look forward to hearing from you again. Thank you.
All right, no problem.
All right, well, it ain't pretty, but I did get back, the police got back to me, and I found out that I will not be booking into Her Majesty's Hotel by the Lake. Police determined that I am not, despite that photo, a person of interest. Phew. Thank goodness. Yeah. Halloween's coming, can you tell? Well, from averting crime to fortunately avoiding danger, imagine you're driving along the highway and you're in your pickup truck and you discover that the vehicle is on fire. Well, that's exactly what happened to the person in our next story, but 4 months later, he still doesn't know what caused the flames. CBC's consumer watchdog, Yvonne Colbert, has the story.
It's not something you see every day, and it's not something anyone wants to experience. But Fredericton resident Ransford Lockhart did. He was driving along Route 8 near Boys Town, New Brunswick in June when it happened.
A big, massive logging truck came up beside me. The driver was frantically beeping his horn, waving his hands.
That's because unbeknownst to him, his 2015 GM Chev Colorado was on fire. He managed to get out safely with only minor burns to his legs. He captured the blaze, which completely destroyed the truck, on video. Looking at it now, he's grateful he was alone.
One of my first thoughts was, oh my word, like what if my son was in there? You know, he's 1 year old, he's in a car seat. What if my wife was in there?
The fire was reported to his insurance company, which paid his claim, as well as to GM and Transport Canada. Transport Canada says it's examining the vehicle, trying to find the source of the fire. GM says it's investigating what it calls the issue and won't comment further. The automaker did issue a recall for another year, the 2018 Colorado, for a weld that could cause a fuel leak and subsequent fire. Transport Canada says there have been no other reported fires for 2015 to 2019 Colorados. Yvonne Colbert, CBC News, Halifax.
Well, here in the studio by my lonesome, Ashley away, and Ryan Snodden joins us once again.
Hey, Anthony. Yeah, again, talking about more sunshine on the way for tomorrow. Unfortunately, we're clouding up and getting some rain into the mix just in time for the holiday long weekend. So more inside time than outside time, but it will be far from a washout this weekend. That's the good news, sir, as we have a look at the terrific conditions that were on hand today. Mark Gray, of course, his pictures on Twitter are fantastic. He snapped this from Elliston Ridge today, and a beautiful shot here. You can see those fall colors are really starting to pop now. A reminder of, in case you missed it, what's on the menu for tomorrow. Temperatures anywhere from 13 to 17 degrees across the island. A little cooler in onshore winds in places like Port aux Basques. Even in Labrador, temperatures far warmer than what they should be for this time of year. A very added bonus with temps into the mid to high teens. Again, lots of sunshine for today and a clear sky for tonight as this area of high pressure dominates and will dominate, as you just saw, for tomorrow. And that cloud will continue to build in as we roll into the later parts of tomorrow and certainly for Saturday. And again, note that this will be high cloud cover starting to move in, so not as ominous as it looks. Note the rain tracking up into the Maritimes for tomorrow. Now by Saturday morning, still dry, but I think for Saturday afternoon from the Burin across the south coast to Port aux Basques, and also for, say, the Port-au-Port Peninsula, edging up into the Corner Brook region, we'll see a chance of those showers moving in with those clouds increasing and that chance of showers through the afternoon, but more so the late day into the evening hours, Corner Brook southward across to the Burin. Saturday, later evening into the overnight, as you'll see here, we'll continue to see that rain tracking in. And note temperatures, again, very, very mild on Saturday and a terrific day across Labrador for your Saturday. There's that rain tracking in through Saturday evening, periods of rain at times heavy. That continues into Sunday morning and will start to edge up towards southern Labrador, but it appears that that area of high pressure will continue to dominate and keep things dry for places like Happy Valley, Goose Bay and Cartwright. Showers from the Straits and over towards Labrador City. It's generally the island that will remain unsettled on Sunday. And again, your forecast as we move forward, looking at Sunday, we're talking about those periods of rain and around 16 degrees for St. John's and the east. We'll clear things out as we move into Monday, but we will be a whole lot cooler on the other side of that system as it starts to depart, with temperatures dropping back into the single digits for Monday and into Tuesday. Have a look at your forecast for central parts of Newfoundland. Increasing clouds on Saturday, but staying dry until we move into the overnight. That rain most prominent in the morning, becoming scattered in nature into the afternoon, more of a showery event, and certainly into the later parts of the day, really drying out. Holiday Monday looking pretty good right now with single-digit highs, but at least bright near 9 degrees. Now for western parts of Newfoundland, late day showers mainly for that south part of the western region, and looking at those showers continuing as we move into Sunday. Back to some tranquil conditions on Monday with temperatures near 10 degrees and a chance of a shower again on Tuesday. Now for eastern parts of Labrador, we're talking about pretty nice conditions Friday, Saturday. You cannot beat that for this time of year. Clouds certainly building, but it looks like that rain staying just to the south on Sunday. Pretty quiet conditions through Monday and a chance of some late day showers again on Tuesday. And then for western parts of Labrador, a nice looking couple of days, again clouding up on Sunday, chance of a shower here, but in the 30 to 40% range. Generally just a cloudy day, and then we'll talk about a chance of showers moving back in for Tuesday. That is your forecast to now. Anthony, back to you, sir.
Thank you, Ryan. Well, she is known around the world for her appearances on the TV show Baywatch, as well as the pages of Playboy. But Pamela Anderson might be best known in this province for her anti-seal hunt stance. Well, now she's using her so-called star power to make environmental protection an election priority. Tina Lovegreen reports.
Bad picture. I don't like this one.
Her celebrity power has drawn people from the streets here, from the downtown east side, into this restaurant where she's handing out vegan meals and getting people registered to vote.
You know, I'd like to support communities that are more the vulnerable communities that maybe aren't registered to vote, which have the most need, and really it's the first step to empowering yourself.
This area is home to some of the most marginalized people in the city. It's the epicenter of the opioid crisis here in BC, and many of the people here are either homeless or moving from shelter to shelter, which means they don't necessarily have proper ID or a permanent address.
We have a list of a bunch of different kinds of ID, from a library card to just any kind of a letter of residence. Like I said, if you live in a single room occupancy, so just verification, where their polling stations are, where they can advance poll, etc., and just helping them navigate.
The 52-year-old model is a longtime Green Party supporter. She's an animal activist and cares about social issues, which is what connected her to the local candidate here, Bridget Burns. She's also a friend of Paul Manley, who's running in Anderson's hometown of Ladysmith.
I'm a big fan of Green parties. I think they've been walking the talk for a long, long time, and now is the time. It's a revolution. And I always say, good girls, vote green. You know, have these really fun things. I think people are really ready.
While her presence has drawn in her fans who are excited to meet her and get autographs, this riding is an NDP stronghold, and it has been for years. So this event likely won't swing voters over to the Green side, but it has gotten a lot of people registered to vote. Tina Lovegreen, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, it was a quiet day on the campaign trail as the party leaders prep for tonight's French language debate. Jagmeet Singh laid out the NDP's terms for backing another party in a minority parliament scenario, including a commitment to universal pharmacare and cutting fossil fuel subsidies.
These are our terms of what we're going to fight for. These are our commitments and these are our priorities. So for any government that is formed, whatever Canadians choose, these are the 6 things that we're going to ask them to take very seriously.
Meanwhile, Liberal leader Justin Trudeau joined local families at a pumpkin patch outside of Ottawa. And Green Party leader Elizabeth May, as well as Conservative leader Andrew Scheer, they did not make public appearances today, but they will take part in tonight's debate at the Canadian Museum of History. Health Canada has issued a new warning about something that's been turning up on a lot of decks as well as in many backyards: portable fireplaces and tabletop fire pits. It's calling on the industry to stop selling certain models in the wake of a series of shocking and sometimes fatal accidents. In the latest, a 20-year-old woman and her 1-year-old niece are now recovering from second-degree burns. This after a fuel container ignited as their tabletop fireplace was being refueled. As Diane Buckner reports, it's a phenomenon called flame jetting.
She was a real artist when she was young. She was good at doing almost anything.
Jim McGorman's wife Judith died after a visit with neighbors. The host used ethanol to fill a fire pot, not realizing it was still burning.
The gas caught on fire, it went into the container, and it spewed like a flamethrower, and my wife was sitting right there.
That was 3 summers ago.
I did become very angry at the fact that this could occur, and especially when I started reading and learning about the fact that this is not new.
It's called flame jetting. The Ontario Fire Marshal has released this video to warn the public.
The people around, believing that the candle has gone fully out, reach for the fuel container and proceed to refill the ornament. When the new fuel is introduced, it ignites the vapors.
And it's happening more often as the ethanol fireplaces and fire pots have become more popular. This Toronto doctor died in June in a similar incident with burns to 95% of her body. In August, 2 women were seriously injured in Toronto. They're still in hospital. And just 3 weeks ago, another incident injured a young woman and her baby niece.
People aren't going to use these products perfectly every time.
Lawyer John McLeish has launched a $14 million lawsuit against the American ethanol maker on behalf of Jim McGorman.
We've got 7 cases in the office and
Involving
ethanol, blowtorch incidences where someone was badly injured or killed.
Manufacturers argue that the devices are safe as long as they're operated and fueled properly. The company facing that $14 million lawsuit tells CBC News it's no longer active in the business. Diane Buckner, CBC News, Peterborough, Ontario.
I'm going to wind down here and now with some nature stories, starting with an animal warning. Almost 24 people across the United States have reported getting sick, most after contact with pet turtles. 7 people wound up in hospital with salmonella poisoning. The Center for Disease Control says parents with children under 5 should not have turtles as pets. And they say you shouldn't snuggle or kiss a pet turtle either, because turtle droppings can contain germs and they can spread through the water tank and onto anything that touches it. Seniors and those with weak immune systems are also at a higher risk. Doctors urge pet owners to make sure to wash their hands after touching a pet and not to let turtles roam around the kitchen when food is being prepared. Well, scientists are delighted by a video that unexpectedly captured a rare part of life of a glacier in the Yukon. Check this out. The time-lapse video shows a lake the size of a hockey rink leaking and then bursting through an icy wall and flooding the land around it. And that water was 50 meters deep in some spots, all held in place by the ice. As you see, it changes, turns into a big lake of mud after a while. They say they were very lucky to get this because it's not going to be seen again, that surge, for another 5 years. You want to make sure, okay, you got batteries in the camera, that thing rolling. Anyhow, thanks a lot for watching. Not sure if I said something or if I need to bathe more often, but we'll see you tomorrow.